Yo, I wanted to make this video to talk about the Stella Fortuna and level 100 coming in 6.0. I wanted to share my personal thoughts with you and what you need to know about it and things that I think could improve, so let's get into it. Okay, starting off, I have a whole bunch of attack scalers here with their base attack. Majority of these characters like Zhao, Varisa, Moika, all of them care about attack and mainly attack, so this base attack buff is going to affect them. All of the characters here that have a base attack increase are either getting 22% or a 23% increase to the base attack at level 100. So it is a solid change, but that's not where things get complicated. Okay, so I've added into column D the base attack of each character's signature weapon. I wanted to showcase this so that you can get an idea of the base attack of the character at level 90 at row E and the base attack of the character at level 100 at row F. So this will show that instead of a 23%, 22% base attack increase, in reality, when you have the signature, it is only a 8 or 7% base attack increase total. Okay, so here I wanted to show you the flat attack increase you get from a max attack percent roll. So this first one here, the 59.5 is how much a max attack percent subset roll is going to give Flynn's at level 90. Then the 64 is from level 100. This basically makes your attack percent rolls gain roughly an 8% increase in value, which is a somewhat solid increase, I guess, but it's not an increase big enough to make a big dent in the meta or any substantial changes. Okay, so now I want to go over the base HP changes. So before, whenever you were told to always level 90 your HP scalers, it's because there's no way to increase your base HP like there is for base attack from a weapon. So it's inherently more valuable to increase base HP on a pure HP scaler because there is no way to buff it. But what I want to bring to attention here is that the value of the increase from level 90 to 100 is roughly the same as the increase for base attack from 90 to 100. So you can see here as I'm about to start adding in the base HP increase over the level 90 from level 100, you'll notice that it's oddly similar to the base attack total increase when you have your attack from your weapon and your base attack from your character. This essentially means that the value from getting a attack scaler to level 100 and an HP scaler to level 100 is essentially the same. So the idea before that you need to level your HP scaler before your base attack scaler is now not necessarily true when it comes to level 90 to 100. Okay, so now that we've gone over what base attack and base HP does from level 90 to 100, I want to start going over some of the very nuanced stuff when it comes to leveling. Specifically, now I want to go over reactions. Okay, so before we go over reactions, I wanted to let you know that I'm using a base 1000 EM as a baseline, so you can kind of get a rough idea of what I'm talking about. But before we get into how I got these reaction numbers, I need to go over how level multipliers work inside of the reaction formula. So when your character increases in level, there is a hidden number that's associated with the level that you're currently at, and then this number is then multiplied by another designated number for each different reaction. So at level 90, this number is 1,446. Then you multiply that number by a specific designated number for each reaction. So for burning, it's 0.25. Then you would multiply that by the elemental mastery multiplier for transformative reactions. So you would take 1,446 times 0.25 times elemental mastery multiplier, and that'll spit out how much a single tick of burning will do. So you can see here that I have 2,290 for a single tick of burning. Then you can see the rest here. I have 5.5k for swirl, 13k for superconduct. All of these numbers down are that level 90 number times the designated number for that reaction times the elemental mastery multiplier, and this will spit out the number you see here for each different reaction. Okay, so now that you kind of have an idea of how the reactions work and how they're calculated, we can then take this base number of 1446 and increase it to the new level 100 multiplier being 2030. This is basically a 40% increase to every single transformative reaction. Most teams don't necessarily care about transformative reactions, but as I'll get into the future in this video, you'll see that this is a very substantial change for reaction-based teams like Hyperbloom, and could be even considerable in some lunar charge and electro charge teams as well. Okay, so I wanted to go over lunar charge as well with you, considering it's a special reaction because it can crit. So first off, we start with the 2030 of the level multiplier. That's the new number that you get at level 100 times 2. That is specifically for the electro charge reaction, but it applies to lunar charge the same way. Then you times it by the elemental mastery multiplier. This is essentially the damage bonus you get for the amount of elemental mastery you have. Remember, we're assuming at 1k. Then multiplied by your crit multiplier. So crit multiplier is essentially a simplified version of your total crit value. Then that is used to calculate the average crits you're going to get. But that's not important. The main reason I wanted to show you this is to show you the example of the level increase changing the reaction formula and how much of an increase it is. So putting level 100 into an actual realistic gameplay perspective, I decided to use the Llama Nualet Farina Raiden team that I had previously calced for a previous video for my Llama guide. So in this team, Raiden's personal damage, the only personal damage she deals is from her E skill. It does 15k per 26-second rotation. She's not doing personal damage. All of her damage is coming from Hyperbloom itself. That's why she has such a major part of this team DPS contribution. So you can see in my first original calcs before we had level 100, and I was just assuming level 90, I was getting 80,000 to 90,000 DPS. This was assuming only 20 Hyperblooms, which is a relatively low amount for this team, considering it's a 26-second rotation team. I should probably be assuming more, but I wanted to keep it relatively conservative and realistic for something that could go wrong or things that go wrong or different scenarios. The main takeaway that I want to show you, though, is that the team DPS increased in my sheets from just adding level 100 to Raiden. Doesn't increase her personal DPS by that much, but it increases the bloom damage by 12,000 for team DPS, raising this team's DPS on my sheets from 88k to around 100k. This is a 14% team DPS upgrade from just getting Raiden level 100. Now that sounds great when you're thinking about it in theory, but here's where things start to go wrong. So this is where I'm going to start to get into the problems of this brand new system, the Masterless Stella Fortuna. These can only be obtained when you get an extra dupe of a 5-star you already have at C6. This itself is already making the requirements to get this relatively impossible for brand new players, free-to-play players, players that haven't been playing for more than 3 or 4 years. This new system is a system made specifically for high spenders and long-time players who've been relatively unlucky on banners. So the main crossroad is that this level 100 system is great for these Hyperbloom and reaction-based teams, but the reaction-based teams have a very low ceiling comparatively to the high whale investment teams that you would assume that a whale or someone that's a high spender or been playing for a long time would own. Pairing all these facts along from the fact of how hard it is to obtain for it only being for whales, and the fact that it's not really helpful for those whales because Hyperbloom has a low ceiling, makes this system very confusing, because who is this system for? It's not for free-to-plays because they don't have the primo gems or the investment to reach these levels. It's not for whales because the characters that actually benefit from getting to level 100 are the transformative reaction characters, and those characters are mainly capped out, lower investment comparatively to the whale characters. So it begs the question, who is this system for? It's not for people that spend no money, free-to-play players, or any of the people that don't have constellations on their standard units because they can't access this material. And it's not for whales because the characters that want to access this material are mainly free-to-play characters or characters that don't have a high investment with money. So this is where my own personal theory comes in, and I hope I'm wrong, but in my mind, there's 2 ways that this goes. So A, this is a feature that is going to be for future content where they start to increase the levels of enemies to then lower the defense multiplier so it doesn't become too outrageous of a damage decrease for the lower levels. So if you're level 90 versus a level 120 versus a level 100 versus a level 20, the level 100 is going to deal way more significant damage because of the defense multiplier. Or this is for B, Dire of Stygian Onslaught, to lower the level gap between the 90 and 110 enemies to increase personal DPSs for the whales, making their clears faster. And I guess maybe this is like, well, we want to reward the people that have dupes of C6s so they can level their favorite characters, but this is me, hell yeah. Anyway, those are my thoughts on level 100. I really hope this system changes in the future and gets better. I wish it was more accessible for the characters that actually need it and more accessible for the wider majority of the player base. Personally, on my own account right now, I've spent thousands of dollars and I've been playing since the game came out, and I'm going to be receiving 0 of these materials at 6.0's release. So I guess I'm a little bit salty, but tell me your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe. Thank you so much.